Hey guys, it's 258. Welcome to book number 3 / volume 3. Last time on the fake end, we lost our boy Sora, meaning that some events have changed from everyone's memories, not just Shiro. Shiro just doesn't have Sora, which is kind of a problem when they're connected in a way, you know? I'm hoping this doesn't last like a chapter. I hope this is just like real quick. Oh, we get Sora back real quick and not gonna have a whole like 1 hour story of how we get him back, because I'm not gonna enjoy that, you know? Like, I am not gonna enjoy that. That's one thing, like, it's gonna like trim me out a bit. Like, I want to get this over with real quick so we can move on with the story, move on with beating the animal girl race slash animal race slash werebeast, whatever the heck we call them. Anyways, hope you guys know I'm mostly gonna focus on No Game No Life because I'm fucking enjoying it. Anyways, guys, thank you guys for watching this thing. That's my outro. Never mind. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoy. And let's start with the prologue. This time, it's called The Loading. That's kind of interesting. Anyways, let's hop right into it. This first moment of her self-realization, what does that even mean? If you're talking about old memories, though hers was logged before the age of 1, she didn't actually remember her first words she spoke, but the motherly woman who heard them, the pale face looking down at her, that was her earliest memory. Soon she was left in this white institution, a girl born too white in a building with white walls. Though there were other children there, she tried to blend into the background, keeping her strangely ruby red eyes cast ever downward, always facing a stack of Western books. I decided mismatch with a little Japanese girl, not even 2 years old. Oh, so we're getting some of her backstory. So it was around then that she learned of games. The white-clad grown-ups brought out all these games they called intelligent tests, but they were all too simple, too boring, not fun to play with anyone. These games, with only the word unmeasurable left behind. After a while, there was no one who would play with her. After about a year in this institution, she realized it was more tolerable to play by herself. As the little girl continued playing both sides in chess, shogi, go, etc., she blended into the background. Eventually, not even the white-clad adults tried to talk to her. Silent, stark white memories, a series of memories labeled simply boring. After 2 years, the woman who was apparently her mother came again. In the girl's memory, the woman told her excitedly that she would have a new father, but the eyes with which the woman faced her were the same as those of the white-clad grown-ups of the white institution, an empty gaze from which could be gleaned nothing. But this time she was 3. The girl met some man called her new father and his son, a boy 7 years older. A boy gave calculated answers as the grown-ups talked, calculated smiles. All alone, the boy returned exactly what he was given. To this boy, who distributed empty, inorganic smiles, she opened her mouth and that had long been closed. You really are empty. The boy who had given his name as Sora, which meant sky or empty, opened his eyes wide at the words the girl muttered. He stared fixedly into the girl's red eyes, with which no one had wanted to make contact, looking for something, trying to check something silently, it seemed, and then she remembered a color she had never seen before appearing in his face. At that time, she had no way of understanding the meaning behind the color. The boy Sora spoke. Come on, let's play a game. That day, for the first time, the girl found a game fun. They played 20 times. The first few times, the girl destroyed him utterly, but as they played on, gradually his moves became harder to read, leading her on and tricking her with moves that sneered at common sense, starting to make moves so out there she would never would have imagined them. Sora flew far beyond her comprehension to victory, and in the end earned a 10-10 draw. The boy who had defeated her for the first time, yet without posing or gloating. Rather, it was as if he was the one who had lost, and as if he was giddy with joy at that. There was no emptiness in his face a color the true meaning of which she still did not understand. The boy, Sora, her brother, spoke. Sorry to be a no-good brother who can only win by sneaky tricks, but I hope you can get along, Shiro. The color in his face, the girl felt as if her name had been spoken for the first time. She realized it was the love of family and that she was wanted for the first time. Understood that it was alright for her to be here, that she was recognized and accepted. Oh, that hit my heart. That hit my heart like a truck, I swear, dude. Her inorganic, monochrome memories clearly changed at this time to have color. She felt something hot welling up in her heart, but she didn't know what it was. All she could do was to drop her gaze and nod subtly. Time flowed on, and it came to be that the brother and sister lived together by themselves. The two had called themselves the parents were already gone. Well, I guess this means we'll stay together from now on too. This one statement from the mouth of her brother was all the girl wanted. It was around then that they started playing online games under a single name, an account registered under a string of 2 spaces. From what their names spelled written together, Kuhaku, blank, the brother would devise his outlandish, bizarre strategies that the sister never would have thought of, while the sister implemented his tactics far beyond his imagination, with the accuracy and calculation of a precision machine. This was the time the 2-in-1 gamer clearly emerged. The time when this gamer won victory after victory beyond belief and began to be whispered of online as an urban legend. Then began her memories that she herself could hardly believe, beating someone who called themselves a god at online chess, and then being dumped into another world where violence was forbidden by the 10 Covenants and everything was decided by games. Disboard. How would you normally feel when you're suddenly thrown into another world? Nervous, lonely, displaced, but her memories recorded not one of these emotions. From the beginning, her place could be only in her brother's arms. Together with her brother, she challenged a world where everything was decided by games. Oh, how perfect. What more could one ask? I got it. All I have to do is become female. A voice rang through the presence chamber of the royal castle in Elkia, capital of the kingdom of Elkia. It belonged to the young man with disheveled black hair sitting on the throne, Sora, wearing a t-shirt that said, "I love people," and the queen's tiara twisted around his bicep like an armband to indicate that, here in this world, Disboard, he was the king of Elkia, and of humanity. Turning the suspicious gazes at the king's sudden pronouncement were 3. Whatever is his royal highness yapping about now? One with red hair, contrasting with her icy blue gaze, Stephanie Dola, aka Steph, the granddaughter of the previous king of the kingdom of Elkia. A girl with an air that suggested the quality of her upbringing, but in this case, the expression she had turned on Sora was unexpected. I see, my master indeed is wise. What a profound revelation. Another praising Sora's pronouncement with a hot amber gaze. Gibro, a girl as beautiful as a fantasy, with long hair that refracted light and changed its color. The wings from her hips and the halo revolving above her head showed that she was not human, but flugal. She, one of rank 6 of the intelligent Xyzs of this world, accepted his wisdom from her master, one of rank 16, humanity, the lowest of the Xyzs, clasping her hands together as if contemplating divine word, and she extracted his intent. You mean that if you yourself were female, master, all adult situations could be written off as mere eek, and among intimate members of the same sex, I am overcome with emotion at your insight. So nodding, contentedly made eye contact with the last one. Come, my sister, let us play a game under Ashente, and please defeat me. You can't just become a girl out of nowhere. I don't think that's something the law of this world will help you with, Sora. Shiro? Wait, fuck. Wait. What? My brain is utterly confused right now. And please defeat me. Okay, the girl Sora called his sister, the girl on his lap with ruby eyes, Shiro. The 11-year-old whose long hair as white as snow was tied with the king's crown. King Sora's sister, that is. Queen Shiro peered into the brother's eyes and mumbled, oh, wait. Okay, I read it wrong. Okay, I was reading it like, oh, Sora was a girl. But no, the girl Sora called his sister, the girl on his lap with ruby eyes, Shiro, the 11-year-old whose long hair as white as snow was tied with the king's crown. King Sora's sister, that is, Queen Shiro, peered into the brother's eyes and mumbled, I don't think you can? Huh? Why not? Wagers thrown by the 10 Covenants are absolutely binding, right? I first have to fall in love with me and me dribble my properties. I should be able to become female too, right? Can you please not gloss over all your heinous deeds as if they were nothing? Though Steph screamed piteously, so gentle as to pay attention to her, were absent. Even so, master, I'm afraid Her Majesty's point is valid. Huh, why? It is because theoretically impossible demands cannot be carried out. As Shiro nodded at Jibro's words, Sora finally understood. Oh, it was obvious once you thought about it. So, like, if I were to beat Steph with a condition, run 100 meters in 1 second, it's still physically impossible, and she could only run as fast as she could to do her best to obey the demand. Exactly, my lord. Why are you using me as an example? Imagining yourself forced to run like a mad woman in a suicidal attempt to run 100 meters in 1 second, Steph interrupted with apparent trepidation that Sora might actually try this. Oh, well, you're the test dummy for all these things, Steph. Hope you know that. Wait a sec. Wait a sec. Then does that mean even if I played a game that required me to get a life, I still couldn't? So imagine what he would look like with a life. How about that? He hardly come up with anything but fantasies far removed from reality. Whether or not you could actually get a life is, as you put it, you should most likely be able to feel as though you have. After all, you speak of issues of your personality, which in the end is a mere abstract conception. A shut-on loser game vegetable who thinks he has a life. That's just too horrible to contemplate. Sora shrieked despairingly as he tried to picture it. I guess I better check the limits of the covenant constraints. As he started pondering more seriously than ever, Steph gave him a squinting look to say, work. Meanwhile, Shiro, who had lost herself in thought just like her brother, proposed an experiment. Try a personality change with some conditions. That would make it easy to say, okay, Steph, let's do this. Let me ask one more time, what does it have to be me? Because you're the best if you want to check how far we can go. Sora's goal, as he casually dropped, was what passed for an explanation was still incomprehensible to Steph. Come on, let's start the game. The wager is that Steph become me. Alright, fine. Steph, repressing the emotion she was on the brink of revealing and answering instead with a resigned act. Yes, she would probably lose to Sora no matter what she did. After all, that had constantly been the case. In fact, she still hadn't a clue how she could win a game against him. Besides, this was an experiment, so she'd have to lose intentionally. But if the result, albeit qualified, what that was that she could become Sora? Could this be my one and only chance to beat him? Desperately hiding the dark, the threat to spell one out of her heart. There's just no arguing with you. All I need to do is lose intentionally, right? I mean, you're going to lose whether you try or not. Anyway, this is an experiment, so let's make the conditions clear. The game is chess. If I win, Steph becomes Sora for 30 minutes. For the sake of the argument, if Steph wins, we'll say I'll give her candy. Not that if it makes any difference. So, Ashante. Yes, Ashante. Even the storm of verbal abuse was tolerable to Steph when she considered what might come after she lost. Making the oath of Ashante, a declaration that once submitted to an absolutely binding wager under the 10 covenants sent forth by the god. 40 seconds later, Steph, can you really suck this much? That's harder to do even intentionally. Though Steph lost in a mere 5 moves, still she answered Sora's insult with a smile. Now this means that there is one more greatest gamer among humanity. Steph, her eyes suddenly piercing as she sported a wicked, ironic grin, taunted gleefully. Come on, let's play as a game, Sora. Wait, what? Oh, she thinks she's gonna be Sora, but I don't think that's how that works. Come on, let's play this a game, Sora. It's time for you to face yourself, bitch. The one who claims he's gonna take down the god himself. The girl's condescending tone was incongruous with the finery in which she was adorned. The girl's condescending tone was incongruous with the finery in which she was adorned. Steph, I don't think it worked. It works like that, Steph. Hey, what's wrong, leery of leaping into the grave you dug yourself? The wager is that you bet a decent person. The wager is that you be a decent person permanently, bitch. Come on, let's get this Ashante on. Such was the pretentious manner in which Steph, in the style of Sora, allowing for some degree of error, carried herself. Striking poses with each punctuation at this display. Hey Shiro, am I this kind of character? It's pretty off. Dora's probably doing her best to fulfill the covenant based on her view of you, Master. Oh, trying to act as if she had not a life, as if she were Sora. It's hard to tell whether she's overestimating me. It's hard to tell if she's. Okay, I see how it is. Okay, that was okay. What? It's hard to tell whether she's overestimating me or making fun of me. It's probably both. Watching Steph downwardly sweep by her bangs and wondering, have I ever actually done that? Sora, with a strained expression, half-heartedly answered her challenge. Okay, whatever. It is creepier than I thought, so I'm gonna demand that you turn back to Steph right now. Ashante. Another 40 seconds later. Why? I thought I was gonna become your equal in skill. To Steph beating as always, Jibber replied as naturally as the flow of a river. What? I thought explaining the things are physically impossible cannot be done. What? I thought I explained this is like a gibble. What? I thought I explained that things that are physically impossible cannot be done. It's physically impossible for me to beat Sora. The face of one betrayed by the world, surely that must have been as Steph's visage now. You see, little Dora, even if you intend to be Master, you still cannot share his thoughts or memories. You knew this before you accepted this match, didn't you? Of course I did. Look back at yourself. What makes you think you looked equal? To begin with, if she had actually become Sora, she alone, without Shiro, would never have boasted the title of greatest among humans. But I'm still not clear on this. It could have just been Steph's insufficient specs. Bro, what do you mean? Can you not say I have insufficient specs? Jibbo, let's try it with you. A fluo should be able to emulate me, right? Fam, why do you want? This is the weirdest experiment ever in my book. The physical specs of Flugo were literally in a whole different dimension from those of humanity. Could it be Sora prayed, but unexpectedly Jiro seemed surprised. You suggest that I become you? I believe that may yet be impossible. Huh, why? Well, if it is your wish, Master, I shall take all my spirits to attempt it. With a look of some kind of frightening resolve, Jibble lowered her head. Jibble, having lost intentionally as agreed, bowed absolutely by the comment and started to transform. Whoa, you transform. I see. Jibble is composed of spirits. Sora and Shiro together widened their eyes and raised their voices. Huh? So for a Flugo, changing one's experience was not theoretically impossible. This was a result that held out a thread of hope for the Sora sex change project, which had all but plunged into despair. Sora's face melted with glee, but then gradually stiffened. Jibble's transforming to look like Sora, like a mirror. That was alright, but gradually sprouting 8 wings. Eh? She belongs to you, so to her, you're her master, and she sees you as a god, basically, since you beat her, and since you declare that you're gonna be God, she sees you as a god. So I feel like this one is obvious on the way she views you. So currently, Jibble is Sora physically, but she sprouted 8 wings. And now the next sentence. An enormous halo, even more complex than Jibble's original one, was drawn over her head, and her mouth, opening gently, formed words. I am the most powerful. Not only Sora, but everyone, including Shiro and Steph, was dumbstruck. Okay, then this is Jibble making a speech. The weakest and yet the most powerful. I am he who shall rise against the god and unite the Xyz. I am he who redefines the old knowledge as ignorance, and therefore I am he who shall reign over the reformation of the world. What business have ye with me, you powerless creatures? The long hush fell over them. So this is what it meant. So Jibble is overestimating me with a heaven-busting force. It was as Jibble had said. After all, being unable to share his memories meant that subjective perception would inevitably enter. Well, anyway, Jibble had identified him as a new lord she should serve on an equal footing with her creator. It makes sense that Jibble would see Sora as some kind of god, but... Hey, am I really this much of a dweeb? Kind of. It is a bit of a caricature, but it does more or less actually portray Sora's behavior, doesn't it? As Shiro and Steph responded to his question as if it were even more surprising than Jibble's transformation, Sora considered, maybe I should seriously reevaluate myself. Looking as if he literally wanted to crawl into a hole, Sora decided to cover his face with his hands and erase Jibble's subjective portrayal of him from his vision. Oh yeah, like she sees you as God. Like, I feel like that was obvious, since she literally vowed her loyalty to you. So basically, even the absolute binding power of the Covenant is unable to push people past their limits. To Sora, reaching this conclusion with a heavy sigh, Jibble once more herself replied, I'm afraid so, Master, so for you to become female. Regrettably, it is impossible. But that was only natural. Yeah, if you could enforce things that went beyond the limits and abilities of the people involved in the game, then indirectly it would be possible to give humanity powers like magic. But Sora, continuing with her, really, that's what I was hoping for, but I guess it's not so easy to find a loophole in the rules. His announcement made Steph and even Jibble gasp. He was looking, however, furiously for a loophole in the absolute and immutable rules of the world, set forth by the one true God. That was Sora, the king of humanity, the one Jibble had decided to serve, but it didn't appear Sora himself was conscious of it. While Steph and Jibble stood stunned, it seemed only Shiro was used to it as how her brother was. To Shiro, as if he'd already moved on, Sora slowly introduced a different proposal. Alright, so we'll say you can't force anything, but Shiro, can you make me Shiro? Shiro cocking her head. What for? Well, I've always been curious about how you see the world. You'll just be the Shiro you perceive, just like with the other two. Sure, but still, then I'll have the biting power of the Covenants on my side. I just thought if I could max out this emulation to a level, not normally of Chibo, maybe I'd see a little something new. But her brother's words made Shiro think. Her brother was definitely not as dumb as he thought he was. In fact, he had beaten her any number of times with wily tricks she would never have thought of. Shiro could hardly imagine why her brother would call himself dumb. The one thing you could say was that he was, well, kind of dense in some weird ways. What if the power of the Covenants enabled Sora to get over that denseness? Given that Sora had lived the same time the same way Shiro had ever since the day they met, and the two shared much the same memories, would he still fail to notice her feelings? The feelings hidden in her heart for her brother as more than a brother. Aha, an incest plot. That's what would step siblings. Ha 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 ha. A classic. Thinking this, what Shiro said was to move to block off her brother's request completely, divergent from her true motive, soft yet closing the path without knockout force and excuse. Brother, what would you think if I became you? Oh yeah, that would suck. To find out you really see me in the worst case scenarios could kill me. And it did after all keep her brother from noticing, though his sister's cheeks went faintly red. The significance escaped his notice. Okay then, Jibbo, wanna be Steph? I don't mean to argue, Master, but I fail to see the purpose in increasing the number of comic relief characters. Oh, Jibro's self-aware, my girl! Who are you calling a comic relief character? Shiro's life, which had started in monochrome, Shiro now understood what had welled up in her heart that time, but she remained unused to expressing it. She smiled too suddenly for most people to notice, but her brother couldn't fail to see. Sora subtly smiled back, and the meaning in his eyes came through clearer than words. This is fun. This world, this situation in which they could play games with their smile, or the fact that Shiro was smiling, not needing to clarify which, as her brother's eyes told her that it was both. Shiro nodded subtly, and then everything went black. Her eyelids were heavy, her eyes terribly dry as if she'd been crying in her sleep, were so heavy that they refused to open. No, maybe it was because they were dry. She was reminded of a nightmare she didn't want to think about, didn't even want to imagine, didn't check whether it's real or a nightmare. Don't open your eyes to see what lies before them. It felt to Shiro as though someone somewhere in her head was thus refusing. But in order to deny this, in order to assert that it was impossible, she shut up the thoughts that demanded she stop. With some actual pain, she narrowly opened her eyes. It was the royal bedchamber of the Elkia royal castle. Lying on a bed so huge, one had to wonder just how many people were supposed to sleep there. Was Shiro alone? The room had countless games strewn about, and a mountain of books, and that was all. No matter how many times she looked around, the one who should have been there wasn't. The one who would have greeted her with a good morning and given her a reason to live today. Sora wasn't there in the lonely room. The implication of that, her thoughts, trying to deny it, seemed to whisper, I told you. Please, if this is a dream, end. With a sound she rarely made, squeezed, shrill, and scratchy enough to hurt, she shrieked. The empty room telling her that all these memories were but an illusion. She only choked back a sob and shrieked. And that's the end. Damn it, we're gonna have to go through that whole bullshit with... Man, I was hoping that we don't have to, I was hoping like a prologue is gonna, we're gonna not worry about it, but I guess we have to worry about it now. Anyways, next chapter is called Skywalk. I think, I don't know. There's another subtitle, but I don't think that counts. Let me check on the table of the contents. Yeah, Skywalk to Cessation. Never mind, it is. Okay, this volume 3 chapters has like a title, then like a subtitle, which is interesting. Anyways, guys, thank you guys for watching, listening. Thank you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.